Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is enjoying the first day of winter solstice, as it is now Capricorn season. It's come in. So, blessed Yule to everybody, and enjoy this um, winter season. Anywho, I wanted to come on and make this video for you guys about a deck that I normally wouldn't be drawn to, but it really hit me when I saw the deck on Etsy, and it's an Etsy creator, and I'll put the link so you can check out her work. And when I saw it, I was on Etsy looking at things, and this deck came up, and I was immediately drawn to it. And then I was looking through it and I said, this isn't really a deck that I would be drawn to. And I didn't understand why. So, and I kept on going back to the deck, kept on going back to the deck, to looking at it. Finally, I pulled back a little bit, didn't purchase it. A few days later, I think I'm back on Etsy, and I said, let me take a look. Let me take a look at that deck again. Let me look at its images and really find out why is it that I'm drawn to this deck. So as I was looking at the images, the deck pretty much took me back to when I was a young child, and it really spoke to me on that level. And it took me back, and it really made me think about a book that is really close to my heart, because it's the very first book I read that I checked out from the school library when I was in elementary school. I think I was in second grade, no, I think I was in second grade. And the book is called Bumps in the Night. And to this day, I remember the book. I actually have a copy of the book back home in a box. And I said, this is why I'm drawn to this deck. This deck, the images are taking me back to that time when I was a child in elementary school, and the things I was drawn to ever since I was a kid, which have always been ghosts and witches and ghost stories and October and winter. And if you've never read Bumps in the Night, the book is about I believe it's a stork, and she or he moves into a house that's haunted, and he has to call a group of friends, and they are psychics and they're mediums, and they try to get in contact with whoever's haunting that house and making these bumps in the night. And it turns out to be a friend of theirs, and it's a wonderful story. It's a great story, and I used to love to read it and always read it and always read it. Thankfully, I have a copy of it. I'm not too sure if it's still in print because it's an older book. But it took me back to that time and what I liked. And I would definitely, at that age, I would have definitely be drawn to this tarot deck. I'm going to take a sip of tea. Now, fast forward now, there is a series of books, and I have them right here, and I'm going to share them with you, which really check that box off for me of if I ever need to kind of get in touch with that child aspect of myself. Those things that I used to like as a kid, and now as an adult, I want to go back to them and reminisce and kind of step into that space for myself, especially during the month of December, where I do a lot more card work. I do a lot more rituals. I do a lot of deeper work for myself because it's my birthday month. It's also a very important month between me and the goddess Hecate, and the work that we do together and what that looks like. So this month of December is always really busy for me in the spiritual sense. Like I said, there's a lot of journaling, there's a lot of tarot reading, there's the year in advance that I do, there's rituals, there's offerings, And it's just a beautiful time for me to reconnect in a different way and set myself up for the beginning of the year. So, in all of that, I think I was craving a little more of that child in me to come out and play a little bit. And I think that's why this deck kind of came into my life. And it's a beautiful deck. And I guess I would say it's an adorable deck. It's not necessarily cute, but it is a very adorable deck because of the images. Now, on the artist Etsy website, I don't think there's a specific title for the deck. I think it's just like Halloween Ghost Tarot or something like that. She has a few decks, but this was the one that I was drawn to right off the bat, right? And it's very well made. It's cut very well. The card stock, these are the backs of the cards. So it's really, really cool because the back of the cards, it's a mirror. So on one side you have the mirror, and then on the other side you have the image, which I will show you. The cards are lighter than most tarot cards. They are very bendy, and the artist does say that if you buy a deck from her, to really take care of it and to treat it like a very precious deluxe edition, and not necessarily, handle it with care, shuffle it with care. And she gives those instructions. So the deck it's made, and it's very well made, and it's really, really shiny. So it does have that shine quality, and it doesn't slide. It's not going to slip off your hands like a linen cardstock would, despite it being shiny. I think it's just for the production and the extra protection on the cards, which they are protected, but it does feel like a deck you wouldn't necessarily would handle. Maybe like a mass market deck that, hey, if something gets destroyed, you can just go out and purchase another deck at a reasonable price. Because this is on the more investment side. I believe I got it she had it on sale for, I think, half off. But I think it's a little over $100. I'm not sure if it's still on sale, but I'll put her link on my channel at the bottom so you can check out her work. And if you do like this deck, you can invest in the deck. Now, this deck, I wasn't really sure how it was going to read because of the images, right? And this month of December, every week I've decided to I picked one tarot deck that I'm going to use throughout the week to just explore it deeper. And luckily, the deck that I made a video of last week, I'll be using that deck this coming week, starting tomorrow. So I'll be making a video on that deck, on how it reads and how I've been working with it. So it'll be a more detailed video on that deck that I did last week. But this deck, this is the deck I've actually been using this week, and I can show you now. This deck, I'll start showing you the images. This is, hopefully you don't see the glare. This is the world. I'm gonna hold it up. So as you can see, they are mirrors. So this is the world. And I think it's a beautiful world card. And this is the card that I got for today's reading. If you see, there's a ballerina. She seems to be up in her attic. There is a mirror behind her, and it has both night and day. And the day side is kind of cracked, you can see. So there's a lot of messages that you get from this card. It's a beautiful card. Now, everybody, or all the images on this deck are ghosts. I'm trying to kind of put it so you don't see the glare. That's the Justice card. Then we have the Seven of Wands. Look at that little guy, poor guy. Now, if you know me, if we've spoken to, or you know a little bit about me, I don't usually do more on the cutesy side. But like I said, when I saw the images on this deck, I I immediately wanted to purchase it, but I stepped back. I gave myself about 24 hours just to think about it and really ask myself, is this an investment that I'm going to use, right? And because of what I felt, that this deck really brought out those, I like the Chariot. This deck really brought out the love that I have for things like this, kind of like the macabre, ghosts, witches. But why this deck? Why it's done in a very cute form, in a very adorable format. And again, it really brought me back to when I was in second grade in elementary school, and the teacher took us to the library to check out a book, and I found that book, Bumps in the Night, and I was just drawn to it right away. And that book holds a very special place in my heart because it's the very first book I ever read kind of like by myself that I checked out from the library. And it holds a very dear place in my heart. Oh, look at the High Priestess. Now, as I'm using this deck this week, oh, look at the King of Wands. The King of Wands is super cool. As I'm using this deck this week, and I'm really trying to work with that child aspect of myself with this deck, and this deck really allows for that to happen. Now, the deck does give you very clear messages. This is the Nine of Pentacles. It does give very clear messages, and what I feel from this deck is that it really enjoys to tell you its story, and it reads very much like a children's ghost story. Now, it does follow kind of like the Waite-Smith tradition. There's a lot of candles and some purples. The card, I really like the card color. It's kind of like it's like a grayish blue with the mirror border, as you can see. But everybody, oh, look at the little Ace of Cups. It's just a really, really fun deck to use. And it kind of brings a smile to my face. It warms my heart because it's just absolutely adorable. And it is a cute deck if you enjoy ghost stories. And look at the Death card. Now, I don't have anything like this in my collection. This is another reason why I wanted to really think about how I was going to use this deck. And this deck isn't really one that I would use every day. This is a deck that I would definitely go to if I need, oh, the Page of Swords. This is definitely a deck that I would pull if I need that comfort, if I need to work with the child in me at some level. I would pull from this deck because this deck really takes me to that place. It is very gentle. Despite its theme, it is a very gentle deck. And like I said, the way, I think the Seven of Cups is really, really cool. If you see him, he's looking at himself in the mirror. It's a very gentle deck for you to go back in time, and especially if you were a kid back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and you enjoyed things like this. If you enjoy, or maybe if you have read that book, Bumps in the Night, let me know if you've read that book down in the comments and see if you like it. And again, this deck took me to that place as a child. And when I saw that, I'm like, I need that book. Because like I said, I have a copy of Bumps in the Night, and I do like to read it on occasion, especially during Samhain and fall. Now, this deck has also, oh, I haven't even seen this one. Look at the Eight of Swords. That one's creepy. There are some cards that are kind of creepy a little bit. So if this isn't necessarily something that you're drawn to, I really like the Devil card. This was another reason why I purchased it, because I think I saw the Devil card and I'm like, yep, I need to get that. And like I said, I would definitely pull from this deck when I need a reassuring kind of friend, when I need or I want to connect to that child in me, that young kid that ever since the beginning was really drawn to ghosts and witches and seances and things like that. Now, if at that time when I was about, I don't know, 8, 9, if I would have seen this deck, I mean, I don't know if at that time I would have known what tarot was, maybe not, but I would have been drawn to it. Despite me not knowing maybe what tarot was, I would have been drawn to the images. The Empress is a beautiful Empress. Look at that Empress. I would have definitely been drawn to this deck. And what I find is that this deck likes to really tell you its story. And every time you pick it up, and every time you do, you know, some spreads, especially spreads that are about 4 or more cards, it really has a lot to say. And its message is very direct and it's very honest with you, but it's not in a very jarring way. It's not going to hit you over the head and say, no, this is what you need. This is, regardless of whether you want to hear it or don't want to hear it. I don't care. I'm giving you the message. This one tells you what you need to hear. It is honest with you, but it does it in a very gentle, loving way. It almost invites you to go into the mirror with the ghosts. And as the ghosts are reading you their messages, they're telling you a story to go with it. And you pretty much can write your own ghost story with this deck. And I thought that was really, really cool. Let's see. What other one? Oh, look at the Five of Swords. So it's very inviting. I like the Strength card too. So it's a very inviting deck. Despite its subject matter, it is very gentle. It tells you what you need. It's honest with you. And it's also, it's honest in a very gentle and loving way. It's going to give you kind of like that warm, that hug that you need, if that's what you're looking for, right? It's going to treat you like a young child as it reads you its story and it gives you its messages. It does it in a way that isn't very confrontational. It's comforting when it gives you its messages. And it really, now it brings me to the next thing. Well, let me show you how it shuffles. So it shuffles very well, and I do it really gently, so that these cards will last for a very long time. This is a deck that I will definitely keep in my collection for a very, very long time. But again, it's not a deck that I would pull every single day. It's not, we've connected, but this is a deck where I need a very specific thing from it, which is I need the deck to be comforting. I need it to be warm. I need to maybe be in contact with that child in me. Or if I'm looking into just really wanting to hear its story and how it connects with my story in a loving and gentle way, even a playful way, because it does have, it has a sense of humor and it's playful in a childlike manner, I would definitely go to this deck, because this deck really goes hand in hand if you want to pair it with a book. If you want to pair this deck, and I call it the Little Ghost Tarot. The Little Ghost Tarot. That's what I'm titling it. And it goes with this book, and it's a series of books, if you've ever read it, which is The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt story. Now, there are 2 volumes of it. There's the little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, and then it has The Little Ghost Quilt Winter Surprise. So there's 2 books to this series. I really love them. These are my, I guess you can say, my bumps in the night as an adult. And I just literally just read them the other night. I sat down, I made some tea, and I just read both of these from cover to cover. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And this deck really does that for me. Now, if you've never read The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, it's a very endearing story about a ghost who is a quilt. He's not a sheet, he's a quilt. Now, they actually sell this so that you can make your own quilt. I don't know how to, make quilts, but if I did, I would definitely make one because it's really, really cool. And it's about a little ghost. He's a quilt, so he's heavy. And he can't really fly very well. He's not really fast like his friends. And he wishes he was faster. He wishes he can do things that his friends could. And he can't. Why? Because he's a quilt. But because he's a quilt, he gets into a little bit of a pickle when he's out with his friends for Halloween. And in Halloween, they kind of like to be themselves since everybody's dressed up. Their ghosts like to be themselves and just kind of hang themselves from the tree to make themselves look like they're ornaments. And because he's so heavy, he can't. So he has to hang from the clothesline. Anyway, he gets captured by some trick-or-treaters, a mom and her daughter who are trick-or-treating, and gets taken to their house. And ghosts in the story are petrified of humans. They are deathly afraid of humans, no pun intended. Their humans cause a lot of fear in ghosts. So he ends up getting taken and kidnapped into the house of a mom and her daughter, and he ends up escaping, and then he flies and he tells his friends about what happened and how brave he was in the experience he just had. So now he becomes the more popular ghost, and everybody wants to fly with him and learn about his experience with the humans. And then the second one, which is The Little Ghost Winter Surprise, is about his adventure in now that winter is coming and everybody is celebrating Christmas and they're putting up a tree and they're putting up lights and the festivities. And he sees this in the same town where this happened. And he tries to bring back all of the festivities, the decoration of trees back to his part of town where he lives, which it's deserted, right? And there's nobody there, just but the ghosts. So it's a really interesting story about how he does that. And it's a story about sharing and friendship and wanting to share your happiness with others. So this deck really brings this in for me. So it's kind of like a complete package. And I really enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of short video. I hope you enjoyed the deck. If you do have the deck, or if you want to purchase the deck, I will put the link in the description box. Let me know if you've read any of these books or Bumps in the Night, or if you have this deck and have you been using it, okay? I will see you in the next video, and everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Goodbye.